I just shared my screen. Please confirm if you are able to see the screen. Good morning to all of you. So today we are going to take up the next important candidate called date objects, dealing with dates. So this is a day-to-day thing that is required in our programming language. Especially when you are going global, we need to ensure that the dates are shown as per the international requirement, right? So for you, date means 00 hours of IST to 23.59.00 or 999 millisecond of the next day or earlier than the next starting of hours. So whereas the same period, it is different when you are in US, when you are in Canada, when you are in different regions in US. So the date is literally different for each one of them. So when they aggregate, how they want to see that aggregation, it all depends on that. So the date is a very important candidate for us to all understand how do we deal with the dates. Before I touch that, I shared my screen. I am in JavaScript. I'll just create a new file today. That is, I call it as date objects. Before I start this, I'll just review what we have seen all this. So initially we started with the HTML. We started with tags, right? What are all the tags we have seen? Like H1, right? Header tags. I call it as head. First is document type. Doc type as HTML. This is the first tag that we just start with this tag. Then we have seen H1 tag, header tag, body tag. Then we have seen HTML itself as a tag, right? Then within HTML tag, you created a head tag, you created a script tag, you created a body tag. Then we created different types of header tag like H1, H2, H3, etc. Then we have seen how to different types of CSS like external CSS, internal CSS, right? All that types we have seen. Then we have seen the style sheet, inline CSS. We call it as a style as a property. Then in HTML tags, we understood about attributes and value. Attributes are nothing but ID is one attribute, style is an attribute, class is an attribute. All this we have seen. Then how to define a class using CSS and how to use that class we have seen. Then we have seen different sections like section tag, layout, basically that is used for a layout. So footer tag, all that we have seen as part of those HTML tag. Then we touched upon JavaScripting. JavaScripting, we introduced how to write the conditional statement, conditional loop statements, right? In loops, all everywhere we have seen like conditional, we have seen two things, if then else and if else end if, if else if. Then we have seen switch case. Loop, we have seen for loop, while loop. There are for each loop, there are multiple loops available, for each loop is there, etc. So for loop we have seen, for while loop we have seen, with conditions we have seen. So then we have seen array string manipulation like substring, how to do a substring, how to do a splitting of string, how the split of string is comes as an array, how to now length of the array. Then we have gone with some of the ES6 commands like set operating, map operator, set operator, all those stuffs we have seen underneath JS. So like then string, number, boolean we have not seen, but it is not a big thing. So boolean, These are all some of the things that we have seen. Then we call it as ES6 candidates like map operator, set operator, all that we have seen here. Array operations, right? And then we came to the node, exclusive node activities. In exclusive node, we have talked about file system objects. Now we are going to talk about data objects. Underneath file system objects, we have seen read file, create, read stream, then we have seen write file, then create, write stream, FS objects, basically all FS objects. Then how to know whether the file exists or not, all that we have seen, right? I am not taught you about how to delete a file. I want you to explore. I want you to uh, try yourself and let me know if you have any questions on that. So I have not taken delete file, but I want you to explore, you learn yourself how to delete a file. Okay, so FS object. So these are all some of the things that we have seen. This some more we have seen under existing thing, create directory, make directory, all that we have taken up yesterday. Right. Next, today we are going to talk about data objects. Very important candidate that we all have to learn. Data objects. The data objects are very important because we deal with dates in a day-to-day activities. We are dealing with the dates. First is the date is in node. The date is represented as console log new of date. That's all. This is the date starting object. It has lot of methods supported. Let us talk about that as we go. I'll put this, execute this. What happened? Node is not there. Hmm. Some peculiar behavior. Why node is not there? Okay, let me go to node. I don't know any mismatch. Yeah, node itself is not shown. I don't know. I have to check my settings. Anyway, now I'll go to execute from here. So node, go to that directory, upskill, JavaScript. I go to the directory, execute now, node, run, node, and then whatever the language. So in our case, data object dot JS file. Oh, I think data object I have not given the extension. Yeah, I have not given the extension. Dot JS. Yeah, I have not given the extension. I think now it will work. Yeah, Node.js. Yeah, Node.js. So I've started. I've printed now console log, new date. You can see that it has printed. Now, by default, it will take the local time zone. This is the part we all have to understand clearly. Right now, it is taking it as a local time zone. So what I'll do is, let me just put variable dt equal to date equal to new of date, so that we know what are all the possible methods in that dt command. One is I print dt as it is. Another is print dt dot to ISO string. This is very, very important for all of you when you are dealing with international standards or international projects. Anything that you do it from browser to save it into the database, you need one format, you need to save it. That format is ISO string. That means it is a UTC timestamp. dt dot to local date string, locally string. I just put now three formats now. FS, run without debugging. You can now see one is console log Indian Standard Time. Second is the same now is now UTC timestamp. This is UTC timestamp with the time zone. Z represents with the time zone, and this time that you see it is nothing but UTC timestamp. This is local. Our you can see the format also DDMMYY. So this is our local format. If you want only date, console log dt dot to local string, to local string, to locally date string. This is only date to timestamp, local time string, local time string. Okay. So this now right now it will represent date in Indian format because you have put a local time string. I'll just put one more called dt dot to date string direct. To date string is printing like Thursday, February 16, 2023, 16 to 2023. This is timestamp 11:12:49 a.m. All these are local, right? So local date time, I'll just put now dt dot time string direct time string. That means it is with international standard time zone. So with the time zone. Now 11:13:19 with the time zone it is coming. So it is with the time zone. So this is very important to understand is you need to make sure how the date is translated from one place to another place. So you are working in India. If you save this time without a global timestamp, in US the same. Our time now it will shown in the US where it is a non-existent time because we are advanced. We are 12 hours or 11 hours advanced, right? Of course, different region has a different time zone. US is still on 15. It is not at 16, right? We are going with the non-existent time. So the conversion of time is very, very important when you are dealing with international time zone. So when you save the record, you have to be very clear how are you saving that record in the database. So we generally prefer two ISO string as well, date and timestamp always. We always say two ISO string is always the format we follow throughout, and we will not use date alone in the DB structure, especially when we are dealing with the global projects, because the global project the date represents for each country it is different, right? So when Postgres or database is connected with the node, he always, even though you give it as a date, he will bring it out as part of date and time. That is how he brings the data outside the date of the database. So because of that, you have to be very careful in dealing with the dates, especially in the database and communicating to the UI. How are we communicating? Angular, React, or Vue.js, or any of the application that deals with these three layers, single page mode, all converts to the local timestamp by default. So by default, he considered it as a global time. That means with Z. So with Z is a time zone he considers. When it is represented in the UI, it is always converted to the local time. So that is how he converts the data and shows that in the UI. He doesn't show the data as you are seeing here. This is UTC time. 5:43 is a UTC time because we are 5.5 hours ahead. Right? We are ahead of UTC. Because of that, our time is 11:13:19. UTC time is 5:43:19. If it is US, 15:23 hours or something like that. 22 hours something. That is PST time zone or California time zone, whatever. Okay, so you have to be very careful on this when we are dealing with the time. Then what are all the other operations that I can do with the date? Generally, date is always split into three for a date, that is year, month, and date. The last three is for time, hours, minutes, seconds, and one more called millisecond. So these are all the four parameters we generally use it. There is no millisecond parameter. It is always second with decimal is what considered as a millisecond. So if I put, I want now console log table is also there actually. So I'll just try to give, I have not used it. So dt dot year, get year, full year is 4 digit. dt dot get full year, dt dot get hours or month. Please, this is very important again to understand how the month is represented. We are in second month, right? Get date. So we are here. I just represent this. Control done. Execute it. Console table is not working. Properties argument. Yeah, that is. I'll leave it off. I'll just say control log. Maybe tab separated, etc. Log control debug. Now you can see 2023. Month is 1. Please note the month is 1 because it starts with 0. January is 0. February is 1. So month is 1. Get date is 16. So get month always returns 1 less. So if you want exact month, you need to use addition plus 1. Control F as I have done. Execute. So 2023 to 16. So get month always represent month from 0, starting from 0. So it is not 1 means January, it is 1 means it is February. So you need to make sure when you are dealing with this dates and times, additions, etc., you have to be very careful. And extraction of date from a external thing and converting that as part of a date, there also you have to be very careful. What I am trying to say is, if I have a let custom date equals 2023-02-10. If I have this, if I want to split from here, right? Let custom date array equals custom date dot split custom date split with what delimiter? Hyphen as a delimiter, right? Then I just make it new console log, new date bracket. I can give it like this also. So custom date array of 0, that is for year, custom date array 1 as for month, month is second, that is 1, custom date array of 2, that is my so-called date. So before that I just put one more print, custom date array. Just print this as well, so that you understand how that split has happened, what it is showing outside world. So fs run execute. So now you can see here 14. So okay, free India time. So here you can see March 10th. He has considered as March 10th, 2023. Array is 2023 because you have used 2. 2 is nothing but it is March for him. If I want to do a subtraction, if I do a subtraction minus 1, let us see what happens. Execute again. So now it has become February 10. So sometimes this is a string, you want to convert that into number, number. Number is for converting that a string to number or any character. As long as you know that it is a number, he will convert that. Number is a converter operator, conversion. You can convert to a number constructor. So he will convert to a number minus 1. This is also allowed. Okay, certain things, most of the time he automatically does the conversion. But in case if it is not, you can convert it using number as a sequence. Okay, so this is my array. This array is converted, but I need to put a minus 1. Remember this. This is very important for you to understand. These are all some of the time we make common mistakes. If you assume that 1 is always January, otherwise we will be clear. So this is another way of representing the date. Now I want to do a add, subtract, all those stuffs. So there are multiple ways it can be done. One, you always convert the date. I make a function, say assume that function add, subtract days. Okay, my input is days as my input. Days is my input. So add or subtract days. So it will automatically add or subtract so many days from the given input, given days. So something like that. You can create a function. You can do it in this way also. So before I go into the function, let us first explain what we want to do. To this custom date or to the current date is dt. dt is the current date. To this current date, I want to add to the current date, I like to add 10 days. I like to add 10 days. How to do that? Easiest way to do that is console log. Let me put variables first. New date equal to dt dot get date. Use get date operation plus you can use 10, any number for that matter. Now this dt dot get date is only gives the number here. So I want to convert it into a date. New date bracket so new date, only date it is there. It is only a date, that means only the number. That means 10. I get only 10. That is what we have seen here. When we printed this, get date, console log get year 16. You have got the 16 as the date. So 16 as the date you will get. For 16, you have added 10. So what about year or anything? So det dt dot you get full year, comma dt dot get full month, sorry, get month, then add the date to get date plus 10. So that means new date is this. So console log print new date. Now it will print the new date. So now it is February 26, 2023, 00 GMT hours. So I want to do it with the current date plus something, means this is what we need to do. Current date plus something. But here we have not taken the time, etc. If you want to add the time, you can add the time. dt dot hours, okay, get hours, dt dot get minutes, dt dot get seconds, dt dot get millisecond. To this extent, you can go down onto this date functions. Up to millisecond you can get. So run without debugging. Now you can see here 11:26:43 GMT 530 plus 530. So this is the time. 26 10 days you have added because you have done the operation here. So if you want to add, you can make it as a sub function. You can, all that you can do. I leave it to you, and I leave it to the part of exercise 10 to make you to use those functions as one of your exercise. Okay. So this is very important. So this is date. If I want to subtract 10 days, minus 10. It doesn't matter. So what if I let us go with now minus 10, we go out of boundary, let us see what happens. Out of boundary, we'll try to go. Out of boundary means 31. I'm adding 100 days. I'm subtracting 100 days. What will happen? Right? Whether it will give an error or it will just accept. Minus 10 days. Now I call it as minus 100 days. Minus 100 I put. What do you expect? Is it going to give an error or is it going to continue to work? What is your expectation? Anybody? Anybody? Whether it will give error or it will not. Let us execute. You can see 8th November 2022. So he automatically takes care of. So if you want to give any get date minus 100, it will take care of subtracting the entire days. Or 100 days, it goes back. Right? Only date I'm changing. I'm not worried about time or anything. So if I put, as long as this 100 is represented as per us, no confusion, this 100 is not an hours, it will always subtract 100 days. I just put plus, if I put plus 150 days or 365 days, or I call it as 370 days, 1 year. Year itself I'm changing, plus 1 year. Not only days, I'm changing the year itself. You can see 2024 February 21. So he takes care of that automatically. This is the date operations, the way you can do it in the Node.js. So first is get the split, consider it, and then add it to your current date. To set whatever the date you want to set, you can use new date concept. Within bracket, whatever the format, year format, month format, etc., it will consider and give that date to you. That is one type of format. You can also give like this to console log new of date. Please remember, new is small, date is a class, so date is a capital letter. Format, I'll give it like this: 2023-1-01. This is also acceptable format. This is also acceptable format. So you can see now January 1st, 2023. So either you can give it individually. Whenever you want to do a date operation, you need to do it in this way. If you are directly converting the date format, the string to a date format, directly you can do it in this way, right? Where you can try with different formats, whether slash, etc. You can try and come back whether it is accepting or not accepting. I'm just doing it here. I don't know whether it will accept or not because I have not tried it. It is accepting. Right? If I put here 13, 14 here, that is second one is a month, invalid date, because he doesn't consider it as a month. He considered as a he doesn't consider it as a date. He considered as a month. So month 14 is invalid. So you got the invalid date. So it's not an exception. It just prints the invalid date. It is not an exception. So if I put in here, then that will be accepted. That is accepted. So all this conversion, you can do it through this. So you need to ensure the format that you are trying to put it. Okay, so that is the very important thing that you all have to understand. So this is how the date operations are done. One is add, subtract, you can do using that format. New date can support multiple formats. New date always represents the current date and timestamp of your local. It is not that timestamp. If you want to represent in different format, you can also represent in different format. I immediately don't remember, but that is called to locally string within bracket. Within bracket, I think I can give international argument. English, what is that? US, India. Locally, which country you want to specify? International, some example he has not given. No, I think India represented by, I think, no, I don't think IN is considered as India. Let me 16.2. That is, I just put it as US. It is, I'll just check that. No, it is not that. To date functions with different format. JavaScript. I've used a lot, but suddenly I'm not able to remember it immediately. Country specific. According to the country. To local string. EN US. EN hyphen US. EN hyphen Great Britain. EN hyphen India. It is EN hyphen US. If I run with this, now you can see 2/16/2023, 11:35 a.m. This is format of the US. Great Britain, GB. All these specifications it will automatically take care of. So 16 to 11:35:21. That's how they will follow. So it is representing that time in that format. So I don't think you have a custom format available. It is either you can give it to that country's local format. So you can represent the data in that format. Okay, so these are the most important date and time functions available in system. So most important thing is when you are transferring the data from one place to another place, we prefer to use UTC format always, so that there is a common standard. You convert your local time to UTC and then submit it. That is a standard conventional format used in any of the things. So any questions, please let me know now. Any questions? Some people have raised their hands. You can raise your question if you have. You can raise your question here. So please, meantime, you can all plan to create your Angular, all those stuffs inside. Can you please explain the program line by line again? Nice question. Line by line again, I don't know where to start, where to end. So first is you started with the date functions. New date is always represent the current date and time. If I want to do it on international standard ISO UTC time format, that is to ISO string. This is, it converts that to ISO string. That is what you are seeing it here. This portion, this is the converted ISO string. Last one is local string, that is Indian time format. Date, always date is represented in this format with time zone. Then I have done the split of date into multiple components like year component, month component, date component. That can be done using this function. That is what we have done year, month, and date. So get month +1 represents 2, that means February. Otherwise, it is represented as January only. Sorry, 0 is starting month, 0 is January, 1 is February, 11 is December. There is no 12 as such. Then custom date, I given some date as a string. I'm converting that date into, split it into year, month, and date, and then I translate back by adding or subtracting a dates. I can do that as well. Then I did a date operations. Date operation is done using either date plus and minus. You can put for hours also. All will get automatically concatenated and accordingly shown the value. Hours means the plus value, whatever you represent here, is nothing but hours. You can add it at millisecond level, you can add it at hours level, you can add it at any of this level. If you want like a global function, you generally what can be done is you can say here whatever the date, current date plus something is new of date into get time. Get time is always translate that into millisecond plus days into days is always 24 hours into 60 seconds per 60 minutes per hour into 60 seconds per hour into 1000 milliseconds. So whatever the days you are giving, I am converting that into millisecond. Then adding that to the new get and time. Then I convert this into new date. That is also possible. Then it will return the added date as well. So you give it as a subfunction. Inside the function, you give that convert into millisecond. Get time always represents the current date and time in millisecond. That is the get time operation. So you can convert that and then subtract it and then add it and then show it as my function as well. So that is also possible. So this is add days. I call that function add subtract days with say 100. Then representing, right? I execute. I put return, right? So I put it as console log. Add days. Control F run without debugging. Function add days 100 new data get time plus y it is representing as subtract. It returns the value. Yes, it returns the value. If it returns the value, why I'm getting undefined? Oh, return. I have not returned the value. Representing, you can say Saturday, May 27, 2023. It has added 100 days to the current date. So that is also possible. So these are all the things that we have learned today. Any other questions, please let me know. Any other questions? Perfect. So we will be the preliminary date and time object. With that, we'll end this Node.js at this point of time. We'll now move on to the next topic like introducing Angular, etc. That will take a lot of time. So we'll introduce that. So for that, you have to have your Angular installed in your local so that you can understand better. Okay. So get that ready for tomorrow's session. If anything, I'll just review the topics that supposed to cover. In case if I missed out any, I will take that as well. Okay. Thank you. I'll leave it to the team exercise team to take over. Thank you. Rajesh, you can switch off the recording.